Today, we're going to talk about the building blocks of motivation, reinforcers. What is it that makes us repeat certain actions over and over? Well, the answer really lies in the science of what we find rewarding.
Have you ever stopped to think about why a baby instinctively wants milk, but a teenager will work really hard to get a good grade? It's because some of our rewards are innate, they're just built in, while others are things we have to learn. So let's unpack exactly how that whole system works.
Okay, so first things first, let's define our core concept here. What exactly is a reinforcer? A reinforcer is really defined by its effect on behavior. It's any stimulus that follows a behavior and, this is the important part, makes it more likely to happen again in the future. If the behavior doesn't increase, then whatever followed it wasn't acting as a reinforcer.
We're going to start with the rewards we're all born with. These are called unconditioned reinforcers, and they are the most fundamental drivers of our behavior.
The key phrase to notice here is without any prior learning history. You might also hear these called primary reinforcers. Basically, we don't need to be taught that these things are valuable. Their power is innate. It's just part of our biology. So unconditioned reinforcers are biologically programmed into us, which means no learning is needed. Now, their effectiveness really depends on a current need or a state of deprivation. For example, food is only reinforcing when you're actually hungry. And these are generally universal across a species.
You know, the simplest examples are often the most powerful. Food is only a reward when you're hungry. A warm blanket feels amazing, but only when you're feeling cold. These are needs-based rewards that have helped us survive for thousands of years.
Now, beyond our basic biological needs, most of what motivates us is actually learned. And this brings us to our second category, conditioned reinforcers.
A conditioned reinforcer starts its life as a completely neutral stimulus, something that means nothing on its own. But through a process of pairing it with an existing reinforcer, it starts to take on rewarding properties itself. Its power is learned. This three-step process is really at the core of how we learn to value new things. So you start with something neutral, like a bell sound. Then you pair that neutral stimulus with an existing reinforcer, like food. After you do this over and over, that bell sound itself becomes rewarding and can actually reinforce behavior all on its own. We see this process everywhere in our daily lives. Praise, like someone saying good job, gets its value because it's been paired with affection or other good things in the past. Points, gold stars, even the sound of a clicker in animal training, they all get their power from being consistently linked to other rewards.
All right, next up, we're going to cover an especially powerful type of learned reward, generalized conditioned reinforcers. These are the real power players. The key distinction to focus on here is that word many. While a standard conditioned reinforcer might be paired with one specific reward, a generalized reinforcer has been paired with a whole wide variety of rewards, and that's what gives it so much power.
So why are these so potent? Well, because they've been paired with so many different things, they're effective pretty much all the time. Their power isn't tied to a specific state of need. You don't have to be hungry or cold or tired for a generalized reinforcer to work its magic.
This quote really just puts it perfectly. Money is often considered the ultimate power player in the world of reinforcers. So why is that? It's because its value has been paired with nearly everything. Money can be exchanged for unconditioned reinforcers like food and shelter, and countless conditioned ones like entertainment, travel, and social status. It really doesn't matter what you need or want at any given moment. Money is probably going to be useful. So now that we've covered the three main types, let's put it all together and compare them to really clarify the distinctions. Let's break this down. Unconditioned reinforcers are biological, and they're highly dependent on a specific need. Conditioned reinforcers are learned, and they have sort of a medium dependency on the original reward they were paired with. But generalized reinforcers, they're also learned, but because they're paired with so many things, their dependency on any single need is very, very low. To make these concepts even more clear, let's try using a metaphor. Okay, imagine you're on a desert island. A fresh coconut that quenches your thirst, that's your unconditioned reinforcer. Now, the sound of a conch shell, which you learn signals that a coconut is coming, becomes a conditioned reinforcer. And finally, a gold coin that the locals accept for everything you might need. That's your powerful, generalized, conditioned reinforcer. Finally, here's a really simple mnemonic device to help you remember the key differences. Think of it this way. The U in unconditioned stands for unlearned. These are the biological ones. The G in generalized stands for global because these rewards tend to work in almost any situation, almost anywhere.
So, from the biological pull of a meal to the learned value of a paycheck, these three types of reinforcers are constantly shaping our behavior. Now that you understand the system, you can better see it at work both in our world and in the behavior of those around you.